Today I'd like to discuss responsibility within magics. Now, first of all, I'd like to say that I know that a lot of people have a different teaching style, or a different education style, I should say. Um, now, first of all, I'd like to say that I was recently contacted by a couple of people that wanted to be my students. Now, one is undisciplined and uncontrolled, uh, you know, wise when it comes to thoughts and feelings. Basically, he doesn't know if he wants to be in the world or not. And basically, I asked him, what kind of magic are you interested in learning? And he said, well, I'm going to make it big because I want to be like, I want to do the illusion stuff and all this stuff and that stuff. And, it's like, do you want to be an illusionist or do you want to learn real magic? He said, well, I want to learn real magic. It's like, really? Because you're all over the place. You don't even know the basics. You don't know what the basics are or why they're done. You don't even know the history. But I took him on as a test run as a student to see if he was willing to learn. Unfortunately, I had to drop him. I gave him the names of Christopher Penziak, the author, and told him to pick up the Temple series. There's no spells, no nothing in these 4 books. All it is a baseline of the basics of everything from high witchcraft to shamanic witchcraft, the inner and outer temples, and everything. Why it's done, the history, what tools to use, what different types of witchcraft are out there, the whole kit and caboodle like that. But there is no magic. There's no rituals, no nothing within it. Which is why I tell people to get these books. Because if you really want to get into real magic, you're not going to skip through the, how should I put this, the beginning and intermediate stuff and just go straight for the black magic. No, you're going to start at the beginning and you're going to work for it. Because that's what a true witch would do. That's what a true warlock would do. Now, my other student, she is serious about it. She's got a good head on her shoulders from what I can gather from talking to her. And I can tell you this about her. I recommended the same books to her that I recommended to this other guy. She turned around and asked point blank, how can I get them? How can I get them? That's a sign that she wants to learn. And I think she's going to go far within the craft, no matter which side of the craft she chooses. But I will always be her mentor and teacher, as long as she wants me to teach her and to educate her, to answer her questions. And this is what I mean by responsibility. Because, I'm going to pick on my big brother for a moment here and explain about responsibility. And earlier in this video I said that everybody's got a different teaching method. My big brother, who I'll be seeing in just a few days, he would recommend The Solitary Witch Practitioner by Silver Ravenwolf. and The Complete Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. Now, let's look at these two books. It talks about the history. It talks about the deities and how to do things from tarot card readings to spell castings. But there is also spells in these books. Now, personally, I wouldn't recommend these books until they get the basics down. But that's where he and I differ. He's got his students, I've got mine, he's got his teaching method, and I've got mine. And that's what I mean. It's that common respect, but it's also that understanding that everybody's got their own teaching methods, their own responsibilities, their sense of responsibility. And this is true around the world. I'm sure that Silver Ravenwolf, Raymond Buckland, Blanche Barton has their own students. But even Christian Day would most likely have his own students. But my point is this. As high priests and priestesses, it's our responsibility to protect newcomers from themselves, from harming themselves and from harming others. Now I know that just sounded like a binding spell, but it's not. It's just a point that I'm trying to make, which is if you give the meat before you give the milk, you might as well just toss somebody in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean without a life preserver. Because that's basically what you're doing. But as I said, it's up to the individual who has taken on the role of a magus or a high priest or priestess. Or a priestess. Or priestess. But just keep in mind that if you take on a student, that student becomes your main responsibility. Either as a solitary practitioner or a member of a coven. Now, if the beginner joins a coven, the entire coven is responsible for this newcomer. Not just the high priest or priestess. And that is my point between both. As leaders, we have to make decisions that is best for that newcomer. We make the decisions which is good for our coven or ourselves, our students, depending if you're a solitary or a coven member within the crafts. Now, with that said, all I want to do is make sure that you understand, because there's a lot of people trying to join the crafts that are so undisciplined, so uncontrolled, because their emotions, their feelings, their thoughts control them and not the other way around. That basically look at magic as a game, like something you see out of a movie or on a video game. You got somebody who's played Dungeons and Dragons, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, witchcraft, let's do it, for real. I bet I can become more powerful than you. Well, guess what? You're going to end up hurting yourself or somebody else, because you didn't start at the beginning. And as mentors, it's our job to make sure that they are protected, that they are in no way endangering themselves and or others. So, with that said, I hope this has been inspirational to people who are thinking about becoming mentors and teachers within Satanism, paganism, or even Wicca. I hope that those of you who have taken on students in the past have watched this and realize, he's made a lot of good points. But if you're already like that, or like me and my brother, who feel that it's our responsibility to make sure that they learn the proper way and are serious about the craft that they're in, then I say keep those horns up and continue on. Now, if this is something you can't do or are unwilling to do, maybe being a leader is not for you. But as I said, I just wanted to make this video and let you know that there is a responsibility as a magus or a high priest or priestess or a coven or just a plain individual, a solitary practitioner. It's your responsibility to protect that person, that student or students, from themselves and from harming others. So, hail Satan, have a good night, and I'll post in a few days because I'm going to be driving down to Texas here first thing in the morning to be with my coven. So when I get down there, I'll post again. Probably not that when I get there. I'll probably take a couple hours and, rest up before I do one. If not, then I'll do it the next day. So, until then, hail Satan. Have a good day.